Hi guys, today we're going to be learning about CSS transition and just to explain briefly, CSS transition is a process that occurs when a styling of an element changes from one form to another. So let's say maybe this color on this first box changes from the background color change from this color to another color. So it's when that happens, it means a transition has already occurred with the CSS styling. So, and one other thing you need to know is for a transition to occur, something must trigger the transition. Like for instance, now I can just put a transition on this without something triggering it, which means we have to something must trigger it. So example of things that trigger transition is maybe when we over on a state or when we are active on it or when we focus on it. Maybe you are inputting an you are designing a website whereby the user have to like input a text box, and when they click on the inbox in the input box, I mean, um, so that is we focused on that input box. So it states that occur maybe when they click on the text box, the input box, maybe you want something to happen at that particular time. So anything that happens during that time is called a transition. So, and it doesn't just happen. There needs to be a trigger for it to occur. So I already have this and our Visual Studio Code on the right hand side. So I'll just be taking you through some transition properties and the methods that you can use. Okay, so I already picked all the elements down already, and I already started each of them. So as I said earlier, that the transition needs a trigger. So let's say on this first on this first box, the first rectangular box, I want a transition to occur. Then maybe I can just come here. I can just pick the CSS the class out object. So maybe when we over on it, I can add the pseudo element. Then maybe over. So maybe when we over on it, we want the background color to change. So we can say background color. Let me just give it a random color here, maybe to this. So we want to transition. So we have to add the transition here. So in the transition, we have different properties. We have the transition property. This transition properties means um which particular CSS properties we've added that we want to change. If okay, let's say for instance now, in this first box, I have the width, the height, and the background color. So let's say I only want the transition to occur to the background. All I have to do is just put background here, the background. So that's it. Then we have the transition duration. The transition duration, which means the timing that you want the transition to do to take maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, but mostly when when writing starts, we don't use 1 minute. So we usually use seconds or milliseconds. So this one I think I'll use 1000 milliseconds, which is equal to 1 second too. Then at compose we have transition timing function, transition timing function. So this transition timing function means the effect that you want how you want the transition to take place, like the function you actually want to put to it. So in this we have this cubic blazer. I will explain this later. But the easy ones and fast ones are we have the ease in, we have the ease, we have the ease in, and we have the ease in out. So you can choose. Let me just choose this as a random one. Then I save. See when I hover, you see the background changes. You see changes. So let's imagine that we don't have this. Let's say I comment this out. I comment this out. You see it's just change, the color just change. No, nothing to transit. Like it's just a sharp effect. But by the time I come back here, sorry. So by the time I come back here and I comment this one out and I save, you see, it takes a time. It takes 1 second for this to happen. But if we want it to happen faster, what we have to do is come down here, then we change it to 0.5 seconds, which is 500 milliseconds. So say this, it's fast. This one is faster. But if you want something slower, so it depends on the milliseconds or the seconds you put here. If I want like 2 seconds, I'll just have to put 2000 milliseconds. Then I'll save. See, it takes a time. So it takes 2 seconds for it to transit from the old color to the new color. So you see. So for instance, now let's say again we want to add the weight on transit. When we over we want the weight to change from 200 pixels to like 400 pixels. So you see. Oh, sorry. Don't forget I said something must trigger. We have to give it the property. Then we have to come here. And we have to put weight. The here. I forgot to put the semicolon. Sorry about that. See, see, see. So when we over it, the transition actually occurs. But when we over out, it's go back to the old state faster, and which we're going to fix later. So in this tutorial, I might not be able to use all the bugs, uh, but I'll explain the major things. So I explain the transition property, which means you have to give the transition what you want, the CSS style that you want the transition to take place. You have to give it the duration, and we have to give it the timing function too. Those are the major properties of it. Those are the major properties of transition. So, but let's say for instance here, you want all the elements. You don't want to pick. You want the transition to occur to all the styling you've made. So all you have to do here is just to add the so it's still going to it's the same thing that is going to occur. The transition is still going to occur here. So let's okay. I this one I made this one for just the first one. Let's say I want this for all So which means if I click on any one of them, the transition will occur. See, on any one of them, the transition will occur. So uh, so let's say for instance I want so you say if you notice here you see that here after we remove the over it go back to its former state faster. So all I have to do here is just come back to this. If I can add the transition here too. I can add the transition here. Then let's see. I give it duration. This is just the shorthand form of the transition property. So then I give is in and I save. You see. So you see, if you can notice, you see that there is a difference there from the first time that it's go back to the state sharp. So now it's also taking the transition. See, so that is that. So uh, another property we should know about transition is the delay. We have transition delay, which is the time that we want. We are trying to delay the transition, so we need to give it a time. Let's say I gave it 3 seconds here, which means I want to delay the transition. So you see, when I over, it doesn't happen fast. You notice that that is what the transition delay does. So when I come back to this one, see, it also takes time for the transition to happen. So that is what so that is what the transition delay does. It delays the transition effects. So those are the those are the major four properties four properties of those are the major four properties of the transition. So I said something that I'll explain this transition timing function. So this transition timing function, it's like when we're specifying the transition curve, like the transition curve, like the way the transition is going to happen. If you can notice, if when I used this, let me just comment this also. Okay, it come on, so I can explain the effects faster. You see, come, let me just wait. Let me use this. See, when I use the is in out, it slows. Let me use another property that will be easy to explain. Okay, let me use is in. You see, when I overrun it, when the transition starts to occur, it slows at the beginning, but when it gets to the end, it's faster. So when I use here, let me say I use is out, you're going to see that it's going to change. It's fast from the beginning, then when it's getting to the end of the transition, it starts getting slower. So that. We have the linear too. There are different functions we can use with transition timing function. So we have linear, it's just nothing like using the linear. There is nothing really specific, just like just straight, just the same time, just straight. So another thing, so when it comes to this transition timing function, there's something known as cubic Bezier. Cubic cubic Bezier is just like the curve you want the transition to take. Maybe you want it to be slow in the beginning and fast at the end, or maybe you want it to be in the middle. Once you want it to be fast in the middle, then it slows at the beginning, or you want it to be fast in the beginning or slow at the middle, then at the end it's fast. So you can use a cubic Bezier for that. And there is this website you can use that can make it to be easy for you. I'll be putting this link in the description of this video, so you can just come here. So you come here. So when you come down here, you give it the way you want it. Depends on the way you want it. So if you do it like this, so let's take for instance I did something like this. So after this, I can just go back here to see how it works, the effect. So you see what happens there, right? You see, when it gets to a particular point, it's, it stops for a while, then it moves faster. See, the rate at which it moves from this place to here is slower from here to here. So it depends on how you want the curve, how you want the curve to be, how so it depends on you the kind of effects, the curve effect you want. So let's say I did this. So after this, all I have to do is just come here, then I copy, then back to our CSS, and just come to this place, then come back to our CSS here, then we put this, and we save. So let's see, you see, you actually see what happened there. See, it stopped, then it moved faster. So that is the work of the cubic bezier, and I think I explained the majority of the property. So you can put different timing function on these different boxes. So it depends on what you want. But in this tutorial, I won't want to be doing that because I don't want to take too much of our time. I don't want the video to be long. So I think I explained the majority, the main properties of a timing function. So let me just use this and maybe it delay 1 second. So no, no. So when it comes to this transition, it works with anything. When I mean any style that you put, it works for text, it works for background, width, height, even it works for transform. Let's say you want to transform, then translate. Let's say we translate to um, 10 pixels. So all we have to do is just so we already use all here, which means all these the properties here is going to the transition is going to occur for all these properties here. So all I have to do is just save. See, see that it translates, it moves by 10 pixels. You see what happens here. So that is the work of the transform translate that we use here. So let's say for instance here we want to rotate. I know it's not going to look that much effective, but let's say transform sorry rotate. So let's say we want to rotate um 90 degree 90 degree. So you see what happens because of the cubic bezier we use. Just so when we over see see so that is another thing you need to know. You can use transition to transit any CSS style you already gave to your element. So don't forget this transition property where you have to. So instead of me using all here, let's say um, I don't want this transition to occur to all the element. I only want it to occur to the transform. All I have to do is just put transform here. So once I do that, you're going to notice something. But transform. Okay, sorry. So see, it's only the transform. So let's say for instance here we only put transform. as our for in our, let's say we only use transform here. So let's just come back here. You see the effect that is going to be see. See what happens is the width the width change faster, but the transition doesn't occur. It doesn't take time. It doesn't take this transition duration time that we gave it. So it happens faster. You if you can see, you see fast, very fast. So but let's say we just come back here and we put all, we save. See the color, the width and the transform, it's taking the transition time, the transition duration we gave it. So that is all the properties. That is all the properties you need to know when it comes to CSS timing function and CSS. Sorry, that is all the properties you need to know when it comes to CSS transition. The don't forget the delay. Maybe you want to delay it and stuff. So I said I would. You can, for your practice. You can you can just play around it, work around it, use different styles, use different elements, um, different properties, different transition properties. You can use transform, you can use anything just for you to practice what you have learned in this short tutorial. Thank you, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on my YouTube channel. This will help me with my YouTube and my channel. This will help my YouTube channel to grow. Thank you so much for watching.